Hello, pocket knife community, knife lovers, knife enthusiasts, interested viewers. So, so define jimping, right? Jimping is something we talk about all the time. Jimping is something that is almost on every single knife we have has jimping. All of them don't have jimping, but most of them have jimping. Anyway, jimping is the process of cutting small notches or filings into the back of a knife blade or on the unsharpened area between the blade and the hilt of the knife. Okay, just so you know, that's not the only place you can have jimping. Anyway, I'll read on. In some cases, they are applied to the base of the handle. So it addressed that, rather than on the back of the handle, and may even be found on the lower part of the handle. Okay, so it did the rest of, if I would have read on, I would have got that, right? Okay, so it did address almost all the places you would find jimping. Okay, but what is it? It doesn't say what it's for, it just says what it is. So then we go to the next definition that actually explains what it's for. Jimping provides a better grip by giving the user's thumb, or sometimes an index finger, something to bite into as it slips over the blade while working the knife. Okay. Okay. so okay. So it's for grip. It's for something to bite into. Okay. So let's just see a couple of examples of knives with excellent jimping. And I'm talking about excellent jimping as per the definition of jimping, right? Excellent. Let's see. My opinion, my first example is the Tucson TS340. Okay, so let's look at the jimping. This knife happens to have jimping only on, let's see where the jimping is on this knife, the spine of the blade and the flipper tab. That's where it has jimping. And does it do, is it notched out? Yes, it's notched out, like in the description. And does it do what it describes? Provides grip, provides traction. And it certainly does. Because holding on to this, the ergos, that jimping's excellent. It bites right into your finger. It's not too much, but it provides that ability to not move forward. When we use the front finger choil, the second series of jimping is on the midway through the spine of the blade, and would provide excellent ergonomics if you were doing maybe some wood crafting or something that you had to shave down and wanted to have that back leverage on the blade. This is an perfect example of jimping. Okay. Another amazing example of jimping is the PM2. And I use the PM2 because the jimping on Spyderco is just absolutely perfect. I mean, my opinion. Spyderco has some of the best jimping around. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It literally prevents your finger from sliding forward. Like I mean, along with this aggressive ramp, it does not slide forward at all. And the jimping that's provided on the front finger choil also offers excellent bite. So these are some examples of really good jimping. Okay. But you know, even though when we're talking about jimping, I think it goes further than that. Because the definition and what jimping is supposed to do, it says jimping provides a better grip by giving the user's thumb, or sometimes an index finger, something to bite into as it slips over the blade while working a knife. I actually beg to differ. I actually want to talk about some examples of jimping that doesn't just do that. I think jimping has more than just that purpose. And the second purpose we can identify as jimping is, and this knife I'm going to pull out would probably be described, and probably was described by me and others that reviewed this knife as terrible jimping, right? And I don't want to pick on CJRB. I don't want to pick on them because I'm not, because I actually love that company. But the logo here is an example of a knife that, if you look at the definition of jimping, this is not good jimping. It doesn't do what it says. It doesn't provide that traction. The other area where there's jimping is on the flipper tab. And I would say that the geometry of the flipper tab, even without the jimping, is excellent. So you probably didn't even need it there. But it's there. It's okay. It's adequate. But this jimping on the back spine is not good jimping by definition of jimping. But does that mean that this jimping's bad? Or does it mean that it doesn't fit that definition? Right? So then if it doesn't fit the definition of jimping, if it doesn't provide better grip by giving the thumb or sometimes the forefinger something to bite into, then why am I arguing that it's still good jimping? Because I am a believer that jimping can serve more than one purpose. I'm a believer that jimping also can serve the purpose of just providing a non-visual, tactical, meaning tactile, meaning touch, place to put your finger without having to see that you put your finger there. In other words, it's a placement. If you're holding onto the tool and you might be cutting from this standpoint, or you might have to change your grip here. If you know where this, if you're feeling this thing, you know exactly where the pivot point of the knife is. Say you're working inside something that you can't see. Say listen, I don't know an example, but if you're working inside something that you can't quite see inside, and you're just using sense of touch and you're shaving something down, this might be able to help you with that. And the other area where the jimping doesn't fit the definition would be aesthetics. Does that look better? I don't know. Look is a suggestive term. So you have a knife like the Migaron Moyal. I can't pronounce this knife. The Migaron Moyal. Okay? And this is one of my favorite budget knives ever. This knife is actually an example of a knife with no jimping. They chose not to put there's two things that they chose not to put on here just for the sake of doing it, actually. And this is a different topic, but no jimping and no lanyard area. They're like, they didn't conform to the pressure of putting lanyard and jimping. So this knife has no jimping. It has a front finger choil or a flat. It's a shallow choil, but it's one there. And it just has a flat area in the back. There's no jimping used at all. So, the jury's out on jimping, right? I can give you some other examples. The large pyrite. This is another example. And unfortunately, I'm back at CJRB. This is also another knife that, by the definition of jimping, is absolutely terrible. Slides right up here, no traction at all. But it does it look good? Did the knife manufacturer, the guys that designed this knife, did they say we like the way it looks there? Does it provide a non-visual, a tactile sense of where your finger is as you're using the tool for different tasks? It provides that. Is that enough? Some people want some serious jimping, right? Just depends. You have examples, like the Hogue, the 6-hour K320 here, which is, I love this knife. But this is an example of a knife that has jimping. Terrible jimping. Terrible. Even the jimping on the liner here, your finger just slides, there's no traction. The jimping on the blade, absolutely terrible, provides zero traction. I feel that this is a knife, I mean, I could be wrong, that they put this here for the sake of saying we have jimping. I don't, I mean, this area here provides strength to the crossbar lock. It's the structure, and I think maybe they just didn't want it smooth. But what? Were you pressured to put? Listen, Niggeron didn't do it, right? They didn't just say we're gonna jimp this here for the sake of it, So I think that sometimes these manufacturers just get caught up in what these knives are supposed to look like, where you put useless jimping on a knife. And I mean, I did give 2 other reasons to have jimping. This would definitely fall into the aesthetics, if you just aesthetically like the way jimping looks. But jimping does have a functional purpose. And just 2 more examples and I'm done. I really applaud the Cold Steel Engage. They definitely didn't fall into the jimping, the pressure of just putting jimping on a knife just for the sake of it. If you notice that there is a front finger choil area here, and of course there's the main handle area where you're locked in front and back, which is kind of tight for me, but I'm locked in. But the spine of the blade just has an indentation and a smooth point. So if you wanted to really have in your saber grip add pressure to the front of the blade, you can. They didn't put any jimping up there, but they did put jimping on the locking mechanism, so as to add traction to that area where it's needed. So they literally on this knife said, we need jimping here, nor else. We're not just going to add jimping. And then you have examples of knives that have jimping that it just went jimped crazy, right? You just went absolutely out of their minds with jimping, and one is the SOG Seal XR. The SOG Seal XR literally has jimping in every part of the handle that you hold on to, and in 40% of the blade, maybe even 50% of the blade is completely jimped all the way up. This thing is jimped beyond belief. Even the crossbar lock has a stepped on it that you could actually say is jimping. Look at the jimping on the flipper tab. So it's jimping insane. And you could even make the argument that the Manix 2 and the Manix 2 XL are also a knife that has an awful lot of jimping. I mean, does this knife feel good? Is this a proven knife? And the jimping is just really locks you in. Yeah, so I don't think this is a gimmick on this knife, but it is a lot of jimping. It's a lot, on these knives. So those are examples of where, and the jimping on these knives truly personify the original definition of jimping and the reason for jimping. Jimping provides a better grip by giving the user's thumb or index finger, or sometimes extra bite. Even, all of this jimping is very aggressive. Matter of fact, we probably need gloves. I gave the TS340 and the PM2 as examples of a knife with perfect jimping, meaning the definition of grip. I also want to add another knife that has perfect jimping, even though it's jimping all over the place. right? All over the place, like the Manix 2 and the SOG, right? This knife also has jimping all over the place, but it's not nearly as aggressive, and I think it's actually excellent. Um, is the Hinder, the XM 18. This knife has a lot of jimping. So it has handle jimping here, which lead to the back of the base and the back of the blade. And there's also jimping on the back side of the handle, the part that locks into the web of your hand, of your palm of your hand. It also has jimping on the bottom rear section of the handle, which is the area in which your pinky traditionally would hold on to the handle itself. And it actually has jimping in the front part of the handle, right at the lock bar site. I imagine for two reasons. One, it provides additional jimping for your index finger, and actually provides jimping to utilize the locking mechanism. And finally, but not least, it has jimping on the back side of the flipper tab itself. Do you use this jimping that often? No. Most of the time, with the geometry of this tab, you're going to just use the front part to flip it. But if you happen to slip and you're coming around the back side of this thing, you come around the back side of this thing, it does provide traction there. So I actually think that the Hinder is, to me, is one of the best ergos there is in any knife. It is definitely in that top area for my hands. Just fits it absolutely perfect, and very comfortable. And the jimping it's a lot, but I think it's some of the best jimping in the industry. So, but all right, that's all I got on jimping, guys. All right, just wanted to put that out there because it's definitely a feature that we talk about all the time. It's definitely something that matters to us, especially when you're talking about a hand tool like a knife. It matters how it feels in hand, and jimping definitely personifies that addressing that feeling. Okay, all right, that's all I got.